You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, y'all. Speaking of black folks in these various campaigns, I want to go. So Pete Buttigieg is out with a new black ad. Oh, yeah. So here's a video of black folks from South Bend, Indiana, touting Pete Buttigieg for president.
I'm Pete Buttigieg, and I approve this message.
Manufacturing companies, when they shut down, the workforce shuts down.
The homes were dilapidated and falling and crumbling.
I met Pete when he was running for mayor. What I saw was that he was accessible.
He listened to our community.
Mayor Pete is light years ahead of some people that have been in politics for many, many years.
He has a heart for our city, and I think he'll show the same heart to our country.
He's never got more than 11,000 votes running, got blown away running for statewide office. Mayor of a small town. Can Pete Buttigieg go from small town mayor in Indiana to the Democratic nomination for president?
Well, I would say he's going to need some better ads, though, right? I mean, this was a clear ad that was like, okay, black people like me. He needs to talk more about what he's going to do, not just have black people say, I like you. It has to say, like, well, what is it that you've done? What is it that you're going to do to improve the lives of African Americans and others? And so far, he's got some ways to go on that. It could happen. He's done very well in the polls. He's raised a lot of money. He had no money before. I can tell you this current environment is so hard to predict. I mean, Donald Trump is president, so look, anything's possible.
CJ?
I think the key thing for him, again, as Ron said, he's going to have to defend his record in as mayor. You have a lot of African Americans, in his city that don't know him. And the first time they've seen him is he showed up late with the police shooting. So he's going to have to really kind of figure out, how can I not just do a commercial, but how can I just reach out and touch and have something that's more meaningful? And he's not had that meaningful debate. I mean, he went to the Urban League. He's, finding different places. He's doing town halls. But he's not had that meaningful interchange with his constituents in his community, in his backyard, for them to vouch for him on the national stage.
Monique, he has attended a number of black events. He touts his Marshall Plan. He's reached out to various black media folks. I've talked to him on a couple of occasions as well. Why do you think he is not, and I've seen your tweets as well, so the look on your face right now is nothing new. Why do you think, now go back to her, put it on Monique. She's the one who's having the looks. So why is he not connecting? You've been very critical. What's the deal?
He's a fraud. So
how so?
Because I don't care how many churches you sit through the whole service for. If when I see your interview, you're telling young children who know better that the founding fathers, unfortunately, sadly, didn't know slavery was wrong. Listen, you can't connect with me if you are untethered to the facts of the human experience as a black person in the United States of America. Now, he may be a good mayor, or maybe those black people were willing to get in that ad because they trying to get rid of him as mayor and stick him on me as president, and I don't appreciate that, black people in South Bend. My point is this. He may be well-meaning, but he is uninformed and he is disingenuous. And when he is called on the carpet for both of those things, nobody comes back and explains it. He has these sharp-tongued people under him. He comes on real sweetness and light and sincerity, and then his comms director comes and backs it up, talking about Clinton this and Biden that and operatives and all of this, and that's what I've been vocal about. I'm like, no, communications person, whatever her name is, if he said something that is inaccurate, fix it. You're in control of the message, and your candidate is out there looking wet behind the ears because he's wet behind the ears. It's not that he may never be president. I'm just like, okay, not right now. This is white privilege. Every time I look at him, I understand why Booker and Harris and Patrick, if he had gotten in sooner, and for that matter, Warren, Klobuchar, you name it. I understand why he can crawl on top of them as a white male, and people who said that his sexual orientation were going to affect that they're living in La La Land. Of course not. White man in America is white man in America, and every time I look at him, that is what I see. And that is what I would say directly. It's not wait your turn, but it's if you're going to jump the line, you ain't no Barack Obama. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Not even JFK.
The video, Monique.
You're not even a JFK. But he wasn't even jumping the line like this. He didn't come from no 11,000 vote mayor position.
But hold on one second. Hold on, Rob. I'm going to come to you. But I do want to play the video Monique is referencing so people can understand that. And so this is a short clip. I wish I had the full clip, but this is what she was talking about. Here we go to my iPad.
Similarly, the amendment process. They were wise enough to realize that they didn't have all the answers and that some things would change. A good example of this is something like slavery or civil rights. It's an embarrassing thing to admit, but the people who wrote the Constitution did not understand that slavery was a bad thing and did not respect civil rights. And yet they created a framework so that as the generations came to understand that that was important, they could write that into the Constitution too and ensure true equal protection for all of us. Similarly, the amendment process. They were wise.
Slavery, they didn't realize slavery wasn't a bad thing. Well, they clearly agreed with it. So they didn't think it was a bad thing. So what is your objection?
That's patently false.
Go ahead.
Founding fathers from Madison to Jefferson.
Well, a few of them did.
To Hamilton. Even the ones who were defending it for the purpose of economy. And they figured out this 3/5 thing on the back end to justify what they were trying to do for purposes of economy. But They wrote at length about the fact that what was being done was unconscionable.
It was unconscionable, but they kept doing it.
Of course, and that's why they did what they knew was bad. That's what makes him so ignorant in saying that, because they knew it was wrong, they did it anyway, and he sat there in front of these impressionable children who are now adult voters who have grown up thinking Mayor Pete said that slavery, the founding fathers didn't even really know was bad, as embarrassing as it is. Embarrassing? That people died? That people jumped off of ships in order to... I'm gonna start crying. I'm done. I don't want to talk.
Rob, go ahead.
Well, look, he clearly was a sloppy statement, and he was wrong for how he said it.
Come
but he also
on.
said, wait. Let me finish. But he also said they didn't respect civil rights. What I think he intended to say, and clearly he wasn't good at how he said it, was that there was a debate about slavery, and this nation kept slavery for economic reasons, and it kept it because there wouldn't have been a nation without slavery, because you wouldn't have had the South. That's the reason what left us the Civil War, and that's the point he was trying to make for the amendment process to come in place. But it was, for him, it was a big mistake, and he shouldn't have said it that way. And I hope he's apologized for saying it that way and for people to understand that slavery, whenever you talk about slavery, it's the original sin and the current sin of this country. Frankly, it hasn't even ended in terms of its effect. We know that. But it was an economic decision. It was a strategic decision, because without it, there wouldn't have been a United States of America, because there would have been no South. That's true. The South would have left.
Well, I hope you talk to him again, because you just did some...
I haven't talked to him.
You just did some Mayor Pete speak that his communications director will not do. He has not apologized. That record has not been corrected. They think that they can just floss their way through and ignore these things that are insulting to the people of color that he's claiming he wants to connect with.
I agree. I agree with you. There's no argument there. So you're arguing to the converted there. I think he needs to do that. And for him, there's been a lot of other candidates that haven't been perfect too, one. Second, I would say that he because he's newer, as you said, because he doesn't have a long record, he needs to be more specific in particular about what he's going to do, and he has to do a better job of explaining his record. So those are some things he has to do. I'm not disagreeing. I just say we have to be careful in this world of when one person says one thing and you look at their overall body and they haven't been consistent with that, we need to be careful just not to cancel them for the rest of their life. That's all I'm saying.
No. He's not canceled. I mean, I would have him over for dinner. I'm not voting for him for this nomination, and I don't want him to be the president. And this is not the first thing that he has said. His record in South Bend in terms of people of color, in terms of criminal justice reform, is lacking. And his answers about why it's lacking are lacking. His numbers on unemployment for black people, that it's lacking. And the information that his team put out was inaccurate, and then again they didn't correct it. And so
who's good though? Who's good? Who's got a good record?
Yeah, and here's the thing. What I am saying about Mayor Pete is that he is lacking. What I said about other people who have left the race and are about to leave the race is that they are better. What I'm saying about Vice President Biden is that he's done some things that he's already apologized for, and I think that the apology is insufficient, but I think that he has served long enough in these communities that it's not going to make a difference. I mean, people believe in and trust him for reasons that go beyond any explaining. So
that's probably true.
It's one of those things where it's just, but what I'm not going to do is let somebody who's brand new, I mean, baby just still needs a diaper change. I'm not going to allow for that kind of jumping across people who have served and served and served, who are not making these mistakes. He's not running for mayor anymore. He's running for president of the United States. So there has to be a different level of accountability. And for all these folks out there, the Kamala is a cop folks, the people ignoring Booker, the people who are writing off women who have been running. Hello?
I actually agree with you on that. I think there was a different standard. And I do think there is something going on right now because there's such a fear and fog with Trump that people, and I think wrongly, have in their mind, and this is a lot of black people, by the way, in their mind that in order to beat Trump, it requires us to have another white man to beat Trump. And I don't think that's the case. But I do think that's what a lot of people are positioned in their mind. So, and it's a lot of black people that are.
Bottom line is just here. I think what helps a Pete Buttigieg, what helps Amy Klobuchar, is the fact that the first two states that vote are nearly all white states.
White.
And this is where I agree 100% with Julian Castro. And this is not specific to any one candidate, but I do believe it's important that when you come out of the gate, if the first two states are so critical that determine folks stay in or drop out, again, I go back to Senator Kamala Harris. It boiled down to what was she looking like in Iowa, New Hampshire. And this is where Democrats, and just for everybody to understand something here, there is nothing written in stone that says at the first two primary states must be Iowa and New Hampshire. Now, I think Iowa or New Hampshire, I think it's Iowa. I think they have it in their state constitution. And their Secretary of State has said it doesn't matter when any other state announces their deal, they are going to move theirs up. But here's the deal, though. The Democrats don't have to abide by those rules. Remember in 2008, when Florida and Michigan moved their primaries up and against the rules of the Democratic Party. The Democrats said, fine, y'all can go and have your primary. We're not going to count your delegates. Yep. Obama didn't run in those states. Hillary Clinton, she won Michigan, won Florida, tried to get those delegates reinstated, and the DNC said no. I dare say in 2024, if a Democrat does not win this November, the Democrats must change their rules and say, sorry, Iowa and New Hampshire, you're no longer going to be king of the hill. If y'all want Iowa and New Hampshire to be first or second, fine, but you got to pick. I personally think if it's going to be Iowa first, South Carolina should be second. Or South Carolina should be first, Iowa second. Or New Hampshire second. It doesn't matter. But what I need y'all to understand, the reason Iowa so desperately wants to be first is not just because, okay, they get to determine coming out of the gate, but it's this.
Yeah.
It's this. The amount of money that campaigns spend on television ads, on signs, on hotel rooms, on food, on staff, that, folks, is an economy all by itself every 4 years.
Which, if it was California, wouldn't even happen.
That's what is going on here. And so I say, Tom Perez, the Democratic Party, change those rules. The first 2 states should not be states that are more than 90% white. That simply cannot be the case. That is not about any one candidate. That's all of the candidates. It should be a far more diverse slate in the first 2 states.
Yeah.
As of right now, it's Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, then South Carolina. So we'll see what happens. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.